Welcome back. It has been more than a year since the Great Recession hit, the deepest global slump since the Second World War. Just in time for Christmas, the fragile economic recovery is showing signs of strengthening. Consumers are spending, companies are rebuilding stockpiles, but has the world economy really begun to heal? And can it achieve a sustained recovery?
December, a festive season of lights and pine trees. No Christmas tree can be complete without a set of colorful decorations. But for the Obama family's first Christmas in the White House, reflect, rejoice, renew is the theme.
We took about 800 ornaments left over from previous administrations. We sent them to 60 local community groups throughout the country and asked them to decorate them to pay tribute to a favorite local landmark, and then send them back to us for display here at the White House.
No artificial snow and no Santa Claus. The understated Christmas decoration showed the Obamas' empathy for the hardships facing many Americans. Thanksgiving marked the start of the Christmas holiday season.
No running, no running.
And this crucial season accounts for nearly 1/5 of the retail industry's annual sales. After last year's worst holiday season, American consumerism is now being closely monitored. Is the U.S. shopper ready to propel the economy forward?
I think people are definitely spending a little less, cutting back a little bit. Things are kind of starting to settle down, and I think people are just kind of realizing that they can't just go nuts with their credit cards anymore.
I mean, with the recession going on, you try to save anywhere you can. So if it's saving $10 on your favorite toy, that's a good deal.
Most stores have reported lackluster results for the start of the holiday season. So the U.S. Commerce Department's retail sales report for November was both surprising and encouraging. Sales rose 1.3%, the healthiest advance since August. But most economists have been concerned that high unemployment could depress spending. Unemployment surged from 9.5% in June to 10.2% in October, the highest since 1983. For President Obama, those numbers are unacceptable.
Even though our economy is now growing again, a lot of companies are still hesitant to hire. They're still worried about hiring. Now, some of this is because they're still trying to get out of the red.
The high unemployment rate shows the fragility of America's jobless recovery. 12 months ago, the panic triggered by the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers had pushed the global financial markets close to collapse. And this time, the world economy has just taken a breath from its deepest recession since the 1930s. The U.S. economy managed to return to growth during the third quarter, after a record 4 straight quarters of decline. Europe and Japan also showed signs of economic growth. Since June, the G20 members have injected about $12 trillion into their economic stimulus plans to combat the recession. A Chinese analyst says much of the rebound in global demand is thanks to the public purse rather than private consumption.
The world economic recovery is now stable but frail. High unemployment, poor income growth, tight credit, and the need to bring down debt mean that consumption growth is likely to be slow. It is unclear how the recovery will fare once the government withdraws stimulus programs. If consumers pull back on spending, the economy could tip back into recession.
A rat race is on as the world economic recovery faces an uncertain future. These toy hamsters from Juju Pets are the most sought-after gift this year in the U.S. and the U.K. Each retails for less than $10. And they have been flying off the shelves the moment they arrive in stores.
Toys that are popular this year are really focusing on the economy trend, and there are a lot of great toys out there for families that are under $10, under $20.
Juju Pets are made by Tiny Sepia Incorporated of St. Louis with factories based in China. In the global economic downturn, China's role as a big emerging economy accelerated first and fastest. The economy expanded 8.9% from a year earlier in the third quarter. This month, the Chinese worker emerged as a runner-up in Time magazine's Person of the Year list for 2009, right behind U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke.
在这种情况下，中国的经济增长呢？
Time magazine's wisdom in singling out the Chinese workers for the increasing heft on the global stage is appreciable. Compared with the doubtful feat of Bernanke's, the achievements of the Chinese worker appear solid. As the global consumption fell, the Chinese economy was hit hardest at the beginning of the year. But such a hard knock had not prevented the ubiquitous Chinese worker from working really hard in helping the domestic economy to expand and thus stoke the global recovery.
But China also faces the problems of ensuring a more balanced growth. The country has announced a number of measures to cool domestic real estate speculation. And for another country focused heavily on property investment, the bad dream has just materialized. On November 25th, Dubai shocked the global investment community. It asked creditors of its main corporate arm, conglomerate Dubai World, for a 6-month payment standstill on its almost $60 billion of liabilities. The surprise hit stock markets in Asia and the U.S., while sending investors scrambling for safe havens. Scary stuff, indeed. But so far, the worst-case scenario hasn't appeared. Neighboring Abu Dhabi is injecting $10 billion into the country.
It is the fruit-bearing tree that becomes the target of stone throwers. So what about if we have 7 fruit-bearing gardens? We are strong and persistent.
Or maybe not. The crisis spells the end of Dubai's economic model that's focused on foreign capital. And experts say the Dubai case could escalate into a major sovereign debt crisis, which would then resonate across global emerging markets. The next disaster after Dubai seems to be a member of the Eurozone, Greece. The country is facing its worst debt crisis in decades. Greece faces political pressure from the European Union to straighten out its finances and obey deficit limits intended to support the shared euro currency. But analysts say that Greece was never in the same dire straits as bankrupt Iceland.
Greece is, of course, a much bigger economy, a much bigger nation, and so I don't think that they're at the risk of a complete and utter financial collapse the way we saw with Iceland. There's also not exactly the same kind of exposure that we saw in Iceland, but it's obviously a hot spot that's going to continue to be a problem. And the other problem is it's another one of these nations that can kind of export its problems to countries in surrounding areas.
Silent night. For Christmas. Many households have all their Christmas shopping done. For many, the worst of the crisis has passed, but that doesn't mean the crisis is over.
Pessimists warn that recovery may become W-shaped and all kinds of shocks could take place in 2010. These could range from sovereign debt crisis to reckless protectionism. Demand in the rich world will remain weak, especially in countries with over-indebted households and broken banking systems. The contrast with better-run emerging economies will sharpen. Whether the world economy moves smoothly towards a sustainable recovery depends on how well the many challenges are met. And with that, we come to the end of our program. As always, if you have any comments, email us at worldinsight@cctv.com. I'm Zoe from the team here in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the holiday season and see you next year for your insight on World Insight.
From Europe to the Americas, from Africa to the Asia Pacific. Each weekend from Beijing, we'll take you on a journey that looks back at the 7 days gone by. We'll tell you what, who, and why. For a new insight on World Insight.